It's 1762 Cottonwood Street in Fairbanks.
And who is this again?
This is Julian.
Oh,
Okay, Julian.
perfect. Julian, you're my target audience for this because I want you to buy a property in the next year, but I want you to make sure you buy a property that makes a ton of sense for you. You know what I mean? Like that makes a ton of sense and makes you tons of money initially and down the line.
Yes, no, definitely. This one's a duplex out in Fairbanks.
Oh, nice. Garages. Always a bonus. That, in my opinion, not only increases your rent, but significantly decreases your vacancy, which is very important.
And so while Mike's running those numbers, just getting set up, real quick, you guys keep in mind too that if you're buying something in the city limits and you're going to do renovations, one of the factors you're going to have to put into your numbers is permits and city inspections.
Depending on what you do, that's where it's really important to know what does and does not require a permit. If you're doing electrical work, plumbing work, adding walls, adding all that, you're going to need a permit for a lot of the work that you're going to do. But if you're just changing carpets out or replacing the flooring, painting it up, painting cabinets, changing cabinets, faucets, fixtures, electrical outlets, that stuff does not require permits. So Mike's 100% right, because not only do you have to account for the contractor to do the work, but you got to account for all the permitting costs for significant renovations. So it's really important
and
to understand
time.
all that. And time, totally.
Right,
All right.
because if you're thinking I can go and get all this stuff done and turn it around and rent it, but now all of a sudden you've got permits you have to account for and city inspectors that are going to go by when it's available, convenient for them, wait another month to actually rent it out or move forward, or 2 months, that could end up costing you some money.
Okay, so this one's easy. This one's pretty straightforward. They give us some decent information. So these are 2 units. It looks like they're renting them both as, oh, can you all still see me? It says my internet is unstable. I don't know what that means, but can you guys hear me and see me still?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, thank you.
You're
So
good,
we're
Mike.
looking at 2 by 1.5 with garage. Oh boy, is this slow. 2 by 1.5 with garage. So you have 2 of these. It says they rent for $14.50, which is pretty realistic. If not, you could probably go a little higher because you have the garage. Very nice garage. Backyard space, great deck. I think $14.50 for a property like this was realistic. What was reasonable a year or 2 ago, but in this market, I think you can get more than that. But we'll leave that alone. Let's look. We could take a quick glance at Rentometer since we're working on. And you don't even need the pro account for Rentometer. I personally do it, and I only run the pro because you get like 50 deep analysis a year or something like that. I only do it for properties that I'm for certain going to buy because it gives me a good idea of how to, whatever. But for most analysis, you do not need to do that. 1760. What was the street again? 1762.
Cottonwood.
Should hopefully come up right now. There we go. Oh, Carlsbad, California has one too. Crazy. Oh, shoot. I put 1100, but it doesn't matter. Just show us a gauge. It'll tell us what it is now. All right. So this is really important to understand. This is why it is important to view the pro report to understand, because this is the average. This is a computer. All it does is aggregate data and then spit it out to you, an average and a median. That's easy to do, but it has no way of knowing, does it have a garage? What is the square footage? Is the inside all stainless steel or not? So you got to look at your property specifically and understand, oh, if the average is this, well, mine has better interior, a garage and all that. You got to know that you can increase, your rent is going to be higher than the average. Hopefully that's pretty straightforward and makes sense. And I would say if the average is $13.29, when you account for a garage and the look of it, I would definitely say $14.50 is well within the range, if not a little higher, but we'll deal with the pro forma after. So let's see if this one has the property taxes. Never worry about this stuff. I know a lot of newbies get concerned about what the previous price was. you know, and you can think like that, but it doesn't really matter what it sold for before. It really doesn't even matter what it's listed for. What matters is what does your analysis say is a realistic number. Obviously, the listing price matters because they're not going to accept an offer too far below, but you shouldn't analyze it based off just the listing price. Like you should determine what is a fair price for you to make for that offer. And same, you can't worry about what it sold for 5-6 years ago because you don't know how much money and time went into renovating it, you know, significantly. So this is assessed at 197,000. They're selling it at 315,000. So the taxes of 3,060 are way low compared to what it's actually going to be. My calculator
The
spits
taxes
out
are at 3266.72.
what
Taxes on it right now are 3266.72.
for 2021.
That's what they're showing.
Okay, well, based on, you know, I'm going off of what the county charges based off the price of the property, the tax assessed value, and I'm going to assume the taxes are going to be, or the assessed value is going to be very close to the actual listing price. You can probably go a little bit below that. I've seen pretty consecutively or consistently that it's a little, the assessed value is typically lower than the actual purchase price. But that's the way I do it, because this, I know this is way too low for the assessed value. It's definitely gone up significantly. Well, I don't know. I assume it's gone up. Is everyone cool with just moving
Yeah, I'm
forward
looking
with
at
that?
the. Yeah, we can. I'm looking it up right now as we're talking about it. It looks like the
Okay.
assessed value on the property right now is, let's see, lands at 19, structures at 189. So total amount is 208,175, but they have
Yeah.
a $50,000 exemption on there. So
Oh,
remember that
see,
if you buy
so it's like
this,
280 something. Yeah.
right. So if you buy that, that exemption is going to go away. And it won't go away till the following calendar year, but it's going to go away. But currently, the taxes on it based on that is at 3266.72. But you're right, you want to go for the full value if you're doing it because that exemption is going to go away.
Yep, totally. So maybe we can put it down $10 a month or something like that, but this is close enough for our analysis. Insurance for this duplex, although the price is a little higher, I would say it's definitely closer to 100 probably. Once again, you have to just get familiar, understand your insurance brokers. For a duplex, I would say $50 per unit is fairly fair. If you really want to move forward with it, definitely talk to your insurance provider or a couple of insurance providers to figure out what that is. So water and sewer. So these should have been autofill, but like I said, you never want to overwrite the code of the template. It's fine. I'll just fix it all up after. But in this scenario, this didn't auto update to what it is for a duplex. I think for a duplex, I estimate like 150 to 180 for water. Does that, all right, so I guess let's go with that. I can copy the code from elsewhere, but let's just go with like 165 a month for water. These are only two.
Mike, do you
bedroom
want the
at 1.5.
number?
Does it have it from there? Just give me a
Sorry to
rough
interrupt you.
idea. I don't. No, I just give me
Well, for
rough
the
ideas of
taxes,
what
I
you're
just,
seeing. Oh,
well, for
taxes
the
not up.
taxes, the full amount based. Okay, because the mill
Okay.
rate shows at the full amount, you're looking at $4,071.90.
$4,071. Wow. So even
That's at
higher
the
than we
full,
thought.
that's at the full, yeah, that's at the full mill rate. Well, that's what I wanted to tell you because it's going to make a difference.
Yeah. Okay, so for water, we're going to estimate 165. The calculator will automatically do that for you when we don't overwrite the code. But heat, I would say, so this one is with the code at 260 because we didn't overwrite that. Perfect. Garbage, this is accurate to Fairbanks garbage. You know, you got to make that, make it, you know, and that one's always fixed. So that's easy. We're going to assume there's no common area. It's somehow split between the tenants. Most of them would just have 2 meters. Management in this scenario is around 350 a month when you account for the 10% monthly and the 50% every 2 years. Once again, this one is at, so if we go back to the original 8, 5, and 5, just to run it like we normally would, if we look at the analysis, this property is not something I would pursue at its purchase price because the rental income isn't that high considering the expenses and the purchase price are pretty high. So you're gonna have a very large down payment, large mortgage still, and then you're gonna have significant expenses because utilities are gonna bite into it a lot. You're still accounting for 522 in reserves, which is, you know, good because the 61 cash flow is subtracting away the reserves. So in that scenario, you're at minus 1% cash return. And, but if you don't count for any reserves, you're at 6.67. So in this scenario, to get to a reasonable somewhere around where your average is close to, you know, I don't know, 5-6%, you're gonna need to go 15% below asking price. No one in this market is necessarily gonna do that, but this property is sat for 16 days. In this market, that's a freaking lifetime. Like most properties are selling a day or two or within the week. 16 days is a long time in this current market. Maybe they're more flexible to budge on the price. Most people will budge maybe 5-ish%. No one's gonna make a leap. Well, in my opinion, they're not gonna make a huge leap down to 15% unless they're desperate at the moment. But this is accounting for everything in your initial assessment. If I were to do this, I would probably estimate for my pro forma around, given the current situation and rents, I would say 1,500 is more realistic for 2 by 1.5. I've rented places for 1,450 with the garage. 2 by 1, a little more outdated. I don't know what this one looks like, but there was a ton of stuff it sounds like was done for it, which is great. Looks like a great area. I mean, right off College Road, looks pretty good over there. Nice yard, deck. I think this would be an easy sell. Yeah, this one looks a very nice interior, in my opinion. The flooring's good. You don't have to worry about that for a while. You obviously want to double check all this stuff. You don't know when they took the photos, but you want to double check this stuff. Yeah, the stainless steel appliances. The cabinets need a little bit of painting. Maybe, you know, I mean, I would say it's fine, but depending on what you're trying to rent it for, maybe you paint them white or you get someone to paint them. I wouldn't replace them, but I would just touch them up if you're going to. Countertops look fine. Bedrooms look like a nice size. I feel like this, you can bathroom looks great. That tile looks great in the bathroom. It's a perfect color. I would rent this at least for 1,500. I think that's very realistic. But I mean, do your own due diligence. Everyone has their own understanding of what realistic is. Vacancy, I would say this vacancy is no more than 5%. Like realistically, I would even go down to 3% because this is such a nice property. It's got a garage. It looks phenomenal. Honestly, for this analysis, I'm gonna say 3% because I know this will get rented. If you list this on the market 2 weeks to a month out before it's available, you'll get so many applications, in my opinion. This will get rented out very quickly. Maintenance and capital expenditures, just double check. Oh, I was thinking about the other price that had a lot of CapEx and all that. I would keep CapEx and maintenance the same then, just in case. You do have a little bit more to account for since it's a little larger square footage. It's at the garage. There's, you're probably going to have some more maintenance and CapEx to deal with. So once again, this still isn't the best at the current price because, only having 2 properties or only having 2 units really limits the potential income. There's only so much you can increase the income per unit, especially at a 2-bedroom size. In this scenario, you're not too far away from getting the right cash flow. You're still a little further away from getting the cash on cash return goals, but let's see, where's my cash flow? So to get that, we want at least $2,400 a year in cash flow to get that $100 per door. So we're already achieving that when we're 5 below asking. If you want to get somewhere between, so I would say right here around 10 to 12.5% is something I would offer. Maybe I would offer that 15% below with an escalation clause up to maybe 292 or 300. I don't know. That's what I would personally do, somewhere around that range. Well, no, I'd probably do the 268 to at the most with an escalation clause up to 10%. Like I said, most properties on the market, even multifamily properties, are not great investments. For some people, this might work well for you. If you're house hacking, this is a totally different scenario. If you're living in one unit, oh, all right. If you're living in one of the units, it's definitely a different scenario. I still calculate the rent as if I'm not living in there, but you're going to put way less down. Let's say it's a conventional owner occupied loan, so we don't have to deal with, we're going to deal with a little bit of mortgage insurance because you're going to put the minimum down you have to for a duplex, which is 15%. I think. Is that correct, Mike, or is that 10%? I've never used a conventional owner occupied loan. I've used other VA and FHA because it's even less down, even if it's higher mortgage insurance. But whatever. In this scenario, 15% is significantly less than 25%. So the upfront cost is going to be less. The change in your mortgage is going to be a lot less, and because the interest rate is going down. So yes, Your loan is higher because you're putting less down, but the interest rate goes down because it's owner occupied. You're less risky to the bank. So it's not going to be that much of a difference, in my opinion. Well, I guess that's a
typically
lie.
anywhere
This
from 3
scenario, it's
to,
even worse. That's even worse scenario. That's even worse for this scenario. The actual insurance is going to be a little lower because you're owner occupying it, but you know you're going to be moving out and you have to pay landlord insurance at some point. You could self-manage and save money, but for me, this personally doesn't work. I like duplexes that make 26 to 3,000 a month for around no more than 250, I would say. That's what I like. That's kind of what I've seen based off this market. So this just kind of goes to show sometimes things look great on the surface, but may not be in the long run. Or like once you actually analyze it. Obviously, you need to account for the real numbers, but I feel like we've been pretty conservative with the rent and the reserves, reducing them, and it's still not necessarily working. But in this scenario, owner occupied, you can probably make an offer at 7.5 to 10% below and know it's going to work out pretty well for you. You have a little more flexibility. The less you put down in cash on cash return, the more important it is. Doesn't hit your cash flow per door numbers, but your cash on cash return is still pretty great. We've gone for a very long time. I hope I've answered a lot of questions and shared a lot of knowledge, especially for someone who's trying to make their first offer or do their first analysis or buy their first deal.
if you've never done a deal, it's always a little scary trying to get into your first one. And Mike's totally right. I mean, it's analysis by paralysis. You can sit there and tweak on it and tweak on it and tweak on it. And if you keep waiting for the perfect moment, it'll never come. At some point, you'll just have to take a leap of faith and have some confidence in the numbers that you ran